Hello, welcome to the Women in Data Science series of The Shelly Show. I'm Shailendra, and you're watching this simulcast live on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I hope you and your family are safe. Some news for me. I lost my maternal uncle yesterday to COVID-19, and I was really upset because he was very close to me. May his soul rest in peace. But the show must go on. Okay. So I will just go ahead and start the show. So guys, thank you very much for all the love that you've given to the Women in Data Science series to celebrate the leading ladies of data science. Every fortnight, I try to bring leading ladies of data science to this platform and understand the point of view these ladies have in the data science world. So if you know anyone, if you know a leading lady of data science and you want them to hear if you want to hear their point of view, then please put their name in the comment section and I'll try to get them on. Okay. One more thing. If you've got a question, which you should, please put that in the comment section and I'll take that question at the end of the show. There is a section dedicated to your question and answers in the end, and I will pick each and every question and put it there. Okay, let me not waste any time and quickly bring the guest to you. My first guest is the analytics leader with hands-on experience in building and nurturing high-energy teams of analytics professionals, having around 18 years of experience in banking and information technology operations. Vidhya loves solving business challenges through data-driven solutions using analytic storytelling and data strategies, demonstrating strong leadership and project management skills with teams across the globe. Currently striving to build analytics and data culture in the next line of leaders in her workplace. So let's bring Vidhya to the show. Hi, Vidhya. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning. I'm Vidhya. I'm psyched to be part of this.
Okay, good
Thanks for
stuff.
having me.
Okay, let me very quickly get to the next guest. But before I get there, I would like you to please put your question in the comment section, and so that we can ask the ladies the questions. While working as a doctor in the UK, she envisioned a better healthcare system where everybody works and researches together in a transparent and accountable collaboration, where patients are the experts, with shared goals to learn from mistakes, prevent harm, and sustain the system. She completed an MBA. So first she was a doctor, then she completed an MBA to learn how the commercial mindset works and how this impacts healthcare before coming to Australia. Currently in Australia, in Brisbane, her current focus is on Semantic AGI, and we should ask what that is so that a layperson can co-create and use advanced data science in multidisciplinary teams as part of her of their daily activities. And she loves to collaborate. So let's bring in Lisa New. Hi, Lisa. Welcome to the Shelly
Hello,
Show.
everybody all over the world who's watching this. I please welcome you to ask me any questions.
Good stuff. So, Lisa, what is AGI?
AGI is a terminology where you put a G between the A and the I of artificial intelligence. And the G stands for artificial general intelligence. And it's one of those very mythical goals which has not been reached yet in the world. Okay. It's supposed to bring humans into the loop and make artificial intelligence safe and ethical.
Perfect. So guys, for you to watch this episode and other sessions that are on Emerging Technologies, I would request you to follow me so that you can be alerted when a live session is on. If you're on LinkedIn, follow me. On Twitter, follow me. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you get notified when I'm live. Okay, and finally, we have Aparna. Aparna is the principal data scientist with Boston Consulting Group in Singapore. She has 12 years of extensive experience with large-scale transformative analytics projects in Asia Pacific. Her area of expertise is application of data science in B2C domains like media, telecom, travel, financial services. Prior to BCG, she led advanced analytics at e-commerce firm and a telco in India. Aparna holds a dual MBA, so we've got two MBAs, well, actually three MBAs, in marketing and systems and bachelor in computer science engineering. Let's bring Aparna. Hi, Aparna. Welcome to the show.
Hello, super glad to be here. Very excited.
How are you doing?
Good, good.
Good stuff. So we've got two MBAs, three MBAs.
No,
MBAs.
just one MBA with dual specialization.
So there is three MBAs, one doctor, one well, computer science engineer, and Vidya, you were computer science before MBA, or
Completely commerce, MBA, and then the product owner now.
so diverse, very diversified, brilliant stuff. So thank you all of you for joining us, and I think with your background, the audience is going to learn a lot. And I would request the audience to please keep posting their questions so that we can get to ask these questions to the ladies. Okay. The structure of the show is around starts with the processes. So I usually talk about the fact that when I started my career, the processes were very hit and trial in data science. What you see today, girls, do you see that has changed, or is it still something similar? Is it hit and trial, or is it a set process that has been put in? What do you think? So let's start with Aparna.
Sure. So, Shalin, like you said, data science as a field itself is a research-oriented process. Largely, if I were to say, compared to a decade back, the building blocks of the process have remained the same, which means you start with identification of your unicorns, which is your high-value use cases. You define those use cases. You conduct the exploratory data analysis, model it, and then validate and then go to market.
Yep.
This process largely has remained the same. What has changed significantly are some of the trends. For example, organizations have become more mature as they've started seeing value which they're deriving from data science, which means that a lot of proof of concepts are moving into production to really deploy those solutions at scale and extract full value out of those solutions. As a result of that, a lot of focus has started coming into the engineering side and the deployment side. So largely the mid block remains the same. But incidentally, what it has started developing into is a blend of software engineering and machine learning coming into play. So you see that software engineering, though it's a linear process and data science is a non-linear or iterative process, the two fields have started sort of blending into something called agile data science, where we get into iterations of the solutions, we test those solutions, and then we get into quicker loops of feedback to keep continuous development and iterations. So that is one. And the second thing which I've seen is that there is an entire use case or life cycle development related thinking which has started evolving. So we are not just thinking about here's the solution and let's go to market once, but there's this whole governance and orchestration around maintenance of those solutions to continue with the sustainable value creation from those. So those are the 2-3 shifts which I've observed.
Okay. Vidya, what do you think?
I should say that from the layman perspective, consider the telemarketing. I started my career as a telemarketer, selling phone plans to the household customers in the US. I understand the pain of getting hung up or spoken to rudely or even vulgarly sometimes. We all learned and moved on to the next auto-dialed calls with same smile on the face and pre-rehearsed script. I've also been on the other end of the spectrum. I can't imagine how many times I put myself on the do not disturb category. Still, the cold calls used to flow in. But nowadays, it's not the same. Data science has made it much more easier for both the sellers and the buyers, especially in the banking industry. We have sophisticated machine learning programs which help us learn the need of a client, have, even before they realize that they need something, we are aware of what they need. Sometimes we even wonder how the Amazons and Flipkarts of the world can offer us intuitively, right? Banks come up with insurance and investment products more appropriately at the right time. So ML has made it possible, data science has made it possible for higher turnaround with our customer base. I think that is the big change that I have seen in the past.
Okay. Okay. Lisa, what do you want to add on the process side of things?
The healthcare industry has 10 years ago had a goal of adopting data science for better healthcare outcomes and have had so much opposition from the doctors and the patients themselves because of the lack of ability to trust the data if you have some hidden layers of how do you get to the probabilities.
Yep.
That has still 10 years on remained a big issue. The drive right now is still to get from the administrative level of data science to become truly useful in real time, where the physicians and the whole auxiliary healthcare team can 24/7 do preventive health, where the patient can, wherever they are, at home, in the community, etc., feedback and be a loop with decision support that's reliable. So we're sitting at the moment in front of a massive problem of how to get there.
Okay. Okay. So from the process point of view, my personal view is that it has moved on from hit and trial to an extent, and there is a end-to-end kind of a process that has been built so far. So I think, and Aparna, you mentioned it rightly, that there is a that trial and error methodology is actually not there anymore, but it is there to actually having a better governance model around it, so that even when you're executing a particular outcome that you're looking to get to, you still have an outcome to be achieved. And I think that's where the world is moved on. Sorry. From the point of view of how it is working, do you guys think, is there a missing ingredient to the current approach that we have? And Lisa, you mentioned around, there is still a bit of hesitance there around the healthcare environment. But we're sitting on huge volumes of data, and we create data almost every second. So what is missing that needs to
The
be added?
beauty of the missing link, I wish to believe and say out loud, is that people underestimate the statistical significance of using semantics in data science as something which is unbelievably value adding. If you have, for instance, a Wikipedia heading, which is a hyperlinkable entity, and you use that as a statistically unique entity, which can occur either in a terminology or in a phrase or in a paragraph, which becomes a machine learning algorithm, which is the interpretation of a protocol, a standard, and fits in and links and nests under strategy, visions, and missions. And underneath starts to shift big data sets when people start reasoning computationally with semantic meaning. If we do that, we can see a paradigm shift pretty quickly. Twitter is showing us how they do hashtags. So is many of our other social media platforms, but they're not delving into the depth of doing those hashtag vocabularies as something which can be a truly significant entity of laypersons doing computational data reasoning.
So when you say semantics, can you explain a bit more for the audience to understand what that is?
Say, for instance, you look at a data table and there is a header which says gender. Now you have in the column either male or female, say, for instance, and the row item might be patient 1 and patient 2. Now, if you then have other columns starting to add the context of what diseases they have and what medications and what treatment, how it led to specific outcomes over time, etc., all of that becomes contextually meaningful semantic data, which takes the data to information, to knowledge, and once it has been peer reviewed with what is a good outcome, for instance, given a very complex problem, becomes a wisdom which can be a best practice, which can be an algorithm, which can be used top down in big data and compared bottom up in big data to see whether there is a gap.
Okay. Before I get to Vidya on this, I want to make a comment. Around about 7 years ago, I was in Melbourne having a drinks with a very good mate of mine, and after lots of drinks, we started talking about how data could become knowledge, data could be information to knowledge and to wisdom. And you actually reminded me of the same guy who actually told me that 7, 8 years ago, and his name was Ian McIntyre. And Ian, if you're watching this, I'm just naming you just because of that. Okay, Vidya, what do you think is the missing ingredient in the current processes that we have, so that if we make those changes to the missing area, it becomes much more utilizable and people start using it quickly.
Sure. And my point of view is when we say technology, or when we say digital, or when we say data science, people think it is not human. But the important ingredient is actually the people. So when you have anything developed, so you basically depend on the people to utilize it. Say, for example, I recently changed my password to
Yeah,
my login to my office. Every time I try to log in back, I always try to put in the old password. That's out of habit, right? You've been doing this for 3 to 6 months, so
yeah,
now you suddenly want to change it. So it takes time for people to get used to it.
yeah.
Say again, try this tomorrow morning. Okay, if you are a right hander, try and remember to start brushing with your left hand. Every day when you pick up the brush, you will eventually use the one which you are very familiar with, the
Yeah.
process that you have always been doing. Exactly same thing what happens in uh, any field for that matter. So because we have been used to a lot of things for a very long time, we are used to it, we have the comfort zone. So when we want to do something new, something innovative or something different from the usual, then it takes time for people to accept it. Even before completing something, I think you should start gaining gaining the information from the people.
Yeah.
So it has to be both top down and bottom up. So the top down is basically the management, the senior leadership should inculcate the data culture inside the organization. They have to lead by example. And bottom up is basically you motivate the ground level staff to actually pick these up and bring it up, because
Yeah.
ultimately they are the ones who are going to use it. So I sincerely think the missing link is people. When either of these are missing, as in the top down or the bottom up, slows down the effectives not as much as you want it to be. So the missing link is people. So you start from people before you touch automation or bring in a new thing, you start with people. What do they want? What is your end state? Is it even acceptable by the people around you? If you are bringing in more new stuff, what will the old processes, the people who are experienced in the old processes, what will they do? How will they get displaced? Or do you want them to upskill? Talk to them, right? You start from there and then you build the next area. So that's, I think the people link is very important.
And hold on that thought, because we will talk about the people in the next section. But before that, I go to Aparna. Aparna, what do you think? What is the missing link or the missing ingredient in the current processes where the data science aspect is not taken up very much around the organization?
I think, Shalin, part of it is also the hype surrounding data science.
Yep.
We tend to overemphasize on the algorithm part of it, whereas the reality is, if you were to extract real value from data science, actually just 10% of the value comes from the analytics algorithm. 20% of it is technology in data, and 70% of it, which is grossly underestimated, is the whole business transformation or the change management part, which Vidya also spoke about.
Yep.
And so we focus so much on the build part that we forget the consumption layer completely. And unless and until we integrate data science with end-to-end business processes, we will not be able to realize the true potential. So organizations often think that, if we hire brilliant data scientists, or if I put all the machinery around the platforms in place, I will automatically start mining millions or billions. And so we are entering this era of what we call algocracy, where we rely on algorithms to solve problems. Whereas, like Vidya rightly pointed out, it is always human plus AI which will lead to an outcome. So I think that is the missing link.
Okay. So, and you rightly said that, and I will just add a bit to that. It's about the business engagement right up front. I think that is what, in a practical point of view, is usually missing, because when we talk about building a data science model, as you rightly said, Aparna, we more worried about the coding aspect or the modeling aspect of it. But few things that we miss out is defining the business problem in plain English language. Who's going to execute it? The business guys who are going to execute it. Do they even own it? Because at the time you take it to them, they say, "Yeah, we know this. What's the big deal?" Or, "We don't believe in you." Or, "Who are you to tell me how to run my business?" I've heard that so many times. This is, I think, in my book as well, where I said, where there was a guy who actually I worked with, and he said to me, "What is your age?" And I said, "What has this anything to do with my age?" And I told him my age, and he said, "Son, I've been doing this more than your life, and you telling me how to run my business?" Exactly. So I've gone through those kind of stuff, but then what I learned from that is that you need to engage with the business right up front, so that they think that this is their work, not someone else's work that they got to now execute. And there is a challenge there, because while you're doing that, you need to make sure that you don't make them feel that this is not their cup of tea. This is something a data scientist should do, or this is gobbledygook. This is something out of the world. So you need to be very, very careful on how to make that happen. And I think that is what we all are saying. So I gave you that example. Any particular example that you want to, any of you want to talk about whilst you've been talking to people, customers, or colleagues?
Like you
I think
rightly
it is.
said, Shello,
Okay, go Vidya.
yeah. So, as you rightly said, that we have been there, we have done that as well. So, the moment you start stepping in an area, they always think that you are stepping on their shoes, right? So, you're going to displace them. So, the fear factor builds a stronger barricade between you and them, that it's very hard to penetrate eventually when you actually finish the job and go back to them. Rather than that, I call that, the culture of inclusivity. So you basically include at every step of the process, right from the beginning to the end. And this is also taught in the agile method as well, right? So that's how you can keep them engaged in the activities that you're doing. What you're doing, is it going to be beneficial? So if you get a buy-in from all the people who are ultimately going to use it from the business side, I think it is much more easier than moving around, doing a lot of stuff, and it's all a throwaway effect.
Okay. Aparna, you were saying something?
Completely resonate with what you said, Shelly, and what Vidya just said. I think the part is getting into the user's shoes or the business person's shoes to really solve the problem so that it is not a siloed data science problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So it is part of the business. It's part of the.
Yeah.
One question to you guys, and this is part of the process I would want to know. When you've seen the data scientist team, where do you see that sitting? Is that in IT or business? And that actually talks a lot about the organization. And I don't want you to name the organization you've seen it. You can give a percentage split if you want to. Is it IT or business? Where do you see the data scientist sit?
Can I answer this one?
Yeah. Go, Lisa.
I don't work in business per se. I work in what I would call a personal mission to try and help a better healthcare outcome, but also better human rights outcomes. And for me, the responsibility of data science is anyone's capacity, ability to help co-create something that is so important that will help us to have shared truths. We are all pieces of the puzzle. We cannot all have every bit of skill set of a great data scientist, but each one of us have the capacity to at least have skills that make us valuable as one piece of the overall puzzle.
Okay. So you've said it right. I think data scientists, in my view, should sit at the cusp of both business and IT because they are the people which will bring both the teams together and help them grow. And I think that's what I have seen successfully done in a lot of organizations who've made a lot of money out of using data science. Okay, very quickly now, before I go to the next question, one thing I must say that at the moment we've got around about 30 people watching us. So guys, if you've got any question, please mention that in the comment section and we will take those questions. Please ask your questions to the panelists. And I will take that at the end of the show. We will have a dedicated time for that. Okay, now let's talk about the skills. And Vidya, you mentioned about the people aspect of it. So let's talk about the skills part of view. Data scientists, how easy are they to find? And we've got people from different countries. So let's, if you want to focus on your country, let be it. So Vidya is from India. Aparna, you are in Singapore at the moment, and you understand India as well. And Lisa, you've been in South Africa and in Australia. So when you talk about data scientists, how easy to find them, and do you find the right kind of skill in the first place? So I'll start with Aparna this time.
Sure. Shalin, earlier I used to work in industry and I'm now in consulting, and I've seen both facets when it comes to data science. I think if you see how the field has evolved, it goes to that. We had business analysts or market research specialists who started getting into data science really. And now with the whole democratization of MOOCs with Coursera, edX, etc., making the courses available or the education available, we've suddenly seen a lot of data scientists or so-called data scientists mushroom through the last 7-8 years. And so it has made, on one hand, the problem of supply demand to be solved. But the second one is that it's more and more difficult to find the right data scientists, right? Because what we are looking for is essentially what I call minimum viable knowledge, which is a person with the right sort of bent on both statistics, the technology side, which is the IT side of it, and then, of course, the right business aptitude. So, what we look for is someone who operates at an intersection of all these three sort of pillars. What we essentially see is either people who have mastered algorithms, so they come with a very strong understanding of deep learning and machine learning, but they really have missed out on the application or practical understanding of that problem. So, what I look for is essentially whether this person can apply data science to solve a business problem or not, and not necessarily anchoring on the sophistication of the techniques or sophistication of the technology which they're looking for. And that really, I think, has become a difficult problem, which is a recruiting problem on, yes, we have so many data scientists, but how do I get someone who will actually solve the problem and who has the right mindset to connect the dots?
Okay. So, Lisa, what do you think? What kind of people, when you talk to the data scientists, what kind of people do you see? Do you see hardcore statisticians or hardcore, IT guys? What do you see?
I see it as an underlying capability to think mathematically, to think statistically, to see where the weaknesses of it is, how to interpret that in data science applications, in a kind of a talent that you have to almost three-dimensionally, four-dimensionally, whatever, be able to filter in your head how data can be utilized and better improved and ultimately become shining in our world. For me, I don't believe that data science of the future is going to remain only accessible to people who do hardcore programming languages as we have seen. I see more and more support interfaces where it becomes easier for lay people to start being able to help program. It becomes a matter of the underlying logic and the cross-language abstraction at a higher level of what are you attempting to achieve? What is the problem-solving method? How are you as a human very succinctly interacting with computers and helping these computers to become more and more cutting edge as new technologies emerge? So I'm looking for data scientists that have vision to continue to learn at this cutting edge where it becomes the transformation of data to ultimately become wisdom across supply chains, across fields of different industries, where at the cusp of it, you are an interpreter sitting between the human layer and the computer layer and helping to build that middleware.
Okay. So, Vidya, what do you think? What have you seen?
So, in my opinion, it's a three-tiered pyramid. Okay, the lowest layer is the acquired knowledge, and the second layer is the working knowledge, and the third one is the domain knowledge. So, if I'm hiring somebody who is going to be a junior staff in my team, then I would probably look for a heavy lower tier and also a little less thicker, like Aparna rightly mentioned. We want somebody who is having minimum knowledge. There is a minimum viable product knowledge that they have, and then we can grow them. And the topmost layer is the domain knowledge, which they can pick up while they start working with the businesses. But if I'm hiring somebody on a senior level or somebody between mid and senior level, then probably I will look for more domain knowledge, heavy top, and slightly heavier middle bottom, and the lower bottom as well, lower tier as well, because they still have to work with the data science team to get things done. So they need to know the knowledge which is required to actually reach the end state. So like Aparna rightly mentioned, in the last 2 decades, since it has been called data science is the sexiest job of the 21st century, a lot of people have actually taken interest. In fact, I received a lot of messages asking how I can switch my career from a regular, a marketing or an operations to data science. Is it even helpful for me to shift now? What do I learn? So we do have a lot of free courses on the internet, and you don't even have to step out of your house to do all those things right now. So there is a heavy bottom layer that we see in the market, but having said that, I still want people with the heavy business knowledge as well, because that will help interact with the stakeholders, the senior management, the clientele, to understand the market as a whole and the business as a whole. So that is where the idea of hiring somebody in the junior level or a senior level, your knowledge levels should be different, is what my take is.
Okay. So what you're asking for is a person who's got knowledge of data, statistics, and business. Too much to ask for from an individual, I think, and you're giving them a data science job. So this is how I cut it. When I was hiring and I was running teams, what we did was we divided the whole team into three different pillars. The data pillar, because I realized that, and you will laugh at this, but when I was when I asked people who want to become data scientists, what did you do with your class 10th stats chapter? And I think both of you will, Vidya and Aparna will relate to that, because that was a question that was an optional question. 95% of those people will tell me that they left the question because it was an optional question. And I didn't know stats, math, stats, we just left it. So not everyone is a statistician. Then the other problem is that each statistician is not a very good IT person, so he can't write a piece of code that an IT guy would write to even pull data would be far better than a statistician writing the same SQL. So I just separated it out. And then finally, the insights guy, as you're asking for a domain knowledge from one person who's IT and statistician as well. So we separated that out as well. We said, no, I want someone with a great communication skill. And as Lisa mentioned, someone who can interact with the system and the business and the people, who can actually engage, who can showcase what can be done, the art of possibility, and explain to them in their language, whilst understanding the data, whilst understanding the stats of it and how that works. I think that would work a lot. So we divided into three places. Anyways, that was the way I actually solved that problem.
Wanted to probably add a little bit there. I understand what you're saying, that I need three different people, but what if the organization is not too big? And it's a startup, then you can't fund three different people, right? So is it still going to work? Because you are a part of big organization, probably you can afford to have a BA, a data engineer, or an insights person, a storyteller, everybody in the team. You can have 12 to 13 people in the team. But if I am a startup, if I am working on probably an NGO on a societal platform, so I may not be having funds to do, actually afford to go for all these people, right? So that depends on which organization or which where the maturity is also. So it makes an important point there.
Okay, totally agree with you on that. Aparna, you wanted to add something there?
Completely agree with what you said, Shalin, that the ideal setup would be to have all of these roles. And specifically, as we see the engineering side, like I mentioned, or the translator or data storyteller side also evolve, I think it's pertinent to understand that these roles exist. That said, like Vidya said, if it is a startup or an organization which is just entering into data science, we'll probably start with a few critical roles and then expand into specializations.
Okay. One question that comes in all the time, and I think Vidya, you mentioned that as well. What do you advise a budding data scientist to be successful? Where should they focus? Coding, or business, or domain language, or data extraction? Where do you think they should focus on to be successful? Your point of view. I'll start with Lisa this time.
Well, I believe that you can't be a great data scientist until you've had life experience, business experience, human experience, until you've become a little bit of expert in a generalist way of a lot of topics that touch on data science. Because as you were saying, that there are three different levels of data science that you picked up. But say, for instance, your beginner level is the one that can simply be like an old style typist secretary. You work plainly, purely with data, plainly, purely with existing programming languages. But for you to be able to see the depths of gaps and problem at a human and business level and help solve that as a computer scientist, as a data scientist, you are not capable of having those insights unless you've worked for a while.
Okay. Aparna, what do you advise the beginning data scientists?
I think I agree with what Lisa said in the sense that when you're starting, don't immediately focus on specialization. Develop yourself as a generalist and test what exactly you want to specialize in. So develop expertise on one programming language. It could be Python, it could be R. Develop an intuition for algorithms by working through various courses, by having pet projects. I'd actually encourage candidates to go for uh, pet projects to start learning and really thinking through the practical applications. And the domain knowledge, my sense is that comes with the diversity of the problems which you solve. And while solving through, you may suddenly realize that you like financial services more, so you're more interested in risk, or you like certain part of machine learning, let us say natural language processing or computer vision, a bit more than others. And that's where you should start thinking about whether you want to specialize in, let us say, optimization or simulation or NLP or any of these subdomains.
Right. Vidya, what do you think?
I will go back to the people's perspective. So, not everybody can do everything. I cannot
Yep.
cook like my mom,
Yep.
right? And I can definitely not, do something which my sisters can do. But there are certain things which I get excited about. So when people come to me for career advice or career change advice, I simply don't tell them that go learn your, programming languages and you can be better at it. No, if you are part of an HR domain for now and you want to shift to data science, you don't have to drop everything and start something new. Okay, that may work for some people, but may not work for many people. So, what you should ideally do if you are a budding data scientist or if you are attracted to this sexist job in the 21st century, what you should probably do is do a lot of research, speak to a lot of people, build your networking to find out which segment of the data science are you interested in. Are you interested in dealing with a lot of data, as in be a business analyst? Or if you want to, if you are good at, a SQL language, probably you can learn other languages. But if you are also good in communications, like Lisa said, then probably you can build your business intelligence from there. So if you're a good storyteller, you can pick the storytelling part. So what excites you most is the most important point. So if you are a budding, or if you're even shifting, or if you're upscaling yourself, all you have to see is what interests you most. So try it out. It's not a hard and fast rule that you have to stick to programming. If you are good at storytelling, you can shift your focus there as well as in the future. The other point is, if you're in at some level and you want to see what can help you to move to the other level, the next level. So basically you have to see what you can pick up the keywords from indeed.com or the other sites, which gives you the job description. So see where the gap is. So you are at point A and you want to reach to point B, and you have a gap to fill. Probably you can see how you can fill that through your learned education.
Okay. I was just checking what's going on the social media at the same time. Sorry for my distraction, but absolutely. Thank you for those point of view. One question that comes to mind is, and I've been doing this for the past now 5 months, where I'm trying to approach a lot of data scientists, women in data science, the data scientist women, so that they can come to the show. And like any other field, there is, I don't see many. What do you see? Do you see a lot of data scientists girls, or is it? And why do you see that there is a gap, if there is any? So who wants to start? Aparna?
Sure. And interestingly, Shalan, we had done a research recently on this topic with about
Okay.
9,000 people across 10 countries.
Uh-huh.
I think the problem starts with the pipeline or the funnel itself. So if we look at graduates, 55% of the women are in the graduate mix. Now, as we go to the STEM side, we'll see that it translates into about 1/3. Now, if you look at the people or women who actually join those STEM fields as a part of workforce, it becomes 1/4. And if you look at the data science as a field, you'll see that 15 to 20% is the mix if we compare with men.
Mhm.
So really, part of it starts at the top of the funnel, and part of it is also this whole perception about data science,
Yeah.
which means that it is more of an abstract field, whereas women in general look for purpose or impact. So I think really surfacing the impact part of data science should make a huge difference in getting women interested in this field. And second, of course, becomes the leadership pipeline, which means now that we have women in this field, how do we ensure that we are able to build the leadership pipeline and retain women in this field?
Okay. Lisa, you raised your hand.
I would like to bring in the feminine aspect of women in data science. I think I might be controversial in saying this, but I think in data science we tend to bring in the qualities of wanting to see compassion, giving, forgiveness, care, love in a way, but also we want our work to be aligned with our morals. We want to work with integrity. We want to be treated with respect. We see commercial work as something worthwhile doing, usually, if it is something that is aligned with what we are at our core. And a lot of the startups that we see tend to fail. And when we look at the core objectives and goals that they aimed for and where they ultimately failed, there often seems to be a gap between what the end users needed and really required between what the startup intended for them. And I think women in this specific data science space has so much to offer, but we find it difficult to be recognized for that.
And one way we are doing that is running this show where we try and recognize and bring the women in data science into this platform and showcase what they're doing in the field of data science. So, Vidya, what do you think? Why we see so less women in data science?
Good that all of us agree that there is a gender gap, of course.
Yeah.
So there are few things which are very prevalent, okay, very open as well. Especially in India, I see that the marriage, growing family, childcare needs, elderly care, higher stress in the job, lack of opportunities for growth, lack of support from the support system around us are the major barriers to continue in something for a long period of time. So when obviously we all know that higher you grow,
Mhm.
more the responsibilities and more your attention to the job that you're doing. So when you juggle between family and also the workspace, you obviously have a lot of stress there. That's a building stress. So a lot of women see that let me not grow beyond this, let me stop here. I'm comfortable here, my family is comfortable, my parents are good, my children are growing up, probably I need to have more attention, give them more attention. And this is all I can do, juggling between these two. So this is where I stop. But only few of us actually think that by building a support system around us, taking their buy-in, like going back to my first point, right? You actually make everybody inclusive. This is also a data science decision making, that I am going to move up in my career and I need your support. So people around me start supporting me, and I will do whatever I can whenever I can. So you build your support system. That is on the personal front, right? When it comes to the organization, we see a lot of dropouts because of the all the reasons that I have just mentioned. We have a lot of dropouts because of because of lack of support and lack of growth opportunities that we see ahead. And instead of letting them go, letting the talent be lost at some point in time in the career career ladder, the organizations take maximum care to support them, actually become a sponsor,
Mhm.
tie them up with a mentor, coach them, give them opportunities to actually explore while they are continuing to hold good at the personal front also. So it's the very thin balancing line between the personal and professional life that you if you get maximum support, there are a lot of people who come up, who continue to grow. So there is, the dropout rate will automatically go down. So that's my take.
Okay, so you're saying that it is not only data science as such, but it is across
Absolutely.
all the functionalities. Um,
Absolutely.
Lisa, one question that comes to mind, and you've been practicing data scientist for a while as well, um,
Long time.
for a long time. What are some of the challenges that you see or you've experienced in your career as a data scientist being a woman? Is there anything that you've been, so is there a treatment differentiation? What different have you seen to other professions, if I may ask?
I see it as in Australia still as a very minority group that
Mhm,
is on the outskirts and treated very differently,
mhm,
not usually given the platform to be heard or to be heard equally.
mhm,
And I see it in the business place when you attempt to bring in data science practices, which might bring in a greater transparency or accountability or alignment with stated visions and missions, and align algorithms with that,
mhm,
and bring in dynamic data cleaning, streaming, etc. with that. It gets resistance at a lot of immature businesses, because we're going through a cycle of before and after. And the reality of good data science will bring in great transparency and accountability. But there is still a lot of resistance against having that level in the workplace. So, with men who are predominantly in the field, needing to keep stakeholders and investors happy, it becomes a high stress pressured environment where the voice of a sort of a female slant of let's stick to the integrity and the morals and the safety and the ethics of it, as agreed with the code of conduct, etc., becomes an outlier and becomes easily shifted aside.
Okay. You've worked with a lot of people. So is there a difference in approach of a man versus a woman towards a data science problem? Have you seen that, or is that all the same? Is it how do you see people approaching a particular problem? Is there a difference?
Yeah, when we approach the problem, or any problem for that matter, there is always a different viewpoint. When we have equal representation of the gender in the conference room or the C circle, then there is a different point of view. I always find something which I can relate to, which I can bring to the table, which always it looks that that is adding value there, because you cannot only think from one mindset. That's why we call it as a brainstorming. So when we have good representation of each of these gender, you always get a different point of view. And this happens between the junior level and senior level, fresh from the market, all these things we talk, exactly what different industries can bring in, like how Lisa can bring in the medical part of it. I can bring in the knowledge from the banking part of it. Similarly, when you can bring from Aparna can bring in from the consulting part of it. So I don't see it is because of the gender, but definitely there are multiple viewpoints which we can put together in a basket and see if there can be a collaborative effort. I think that's important.
Okay, so we've lost Aparna. I think for she's trying to reconnect, anyways. So let's move on and let's talk about some success stories. So tell us one use case, one success story, and I'll start with Lisa because healthcare is the talk of the town these days. And so, Lisa, tell us about one or two use cases or success stories that you've seen where data science has made a huge difference, or even AI, you call it. Where have you seen that differentiation utilizing data?
I'm going to describe to you briefly a case that I worked on for a number of years. And it had collected a lot of patient data to compare the safety of one drug versus another.
Yep.
Now, when you do that, you're basically sitting with a data set of scientific data, which is not a high level of evidence until it's peer-reviewed at a published statistical level. Now, in order for it to get from the data set to become a shared wisdom, which the researchers all have consensus about and can co-publish on, there is a lot of back and fro. Now, traditionally, you would see that as people attaching a screenshot or using a little bit of advanced dashboard sharing to try and see the same data, a filter set, and then the trend from that, and come to a verbal agreement about where are they agreeing or disagreeing, and then et cetera, et cetera. It's a lot of back and fro. But when you have time limitations on having those consensus decisions, it becomes very important that you have data science decision support tools which bring those expert peer review in the loop, where they can compare not only their findings to each other, but compare it to a high-level evidence that has already been published and compare it to a wider set of experts that are available other than themselves. So once you start bringing in a a living, dynamic, what I would call semantic AGI dashboard system, a platform for consensus development where people are able to make those decisions quickly, fast, and transparently and accountably, seeing probabilities that are statistic, but also closing the gaps in those statistics where a lot of the assumptions in statistics are the fall gaps, the problems that create poor publications, poor quality of the whole research project. So my work and that has made a few of the researchers in Australia sit up and become very interested in how can we, for them, help the whole process of having science to bench and bench to science, but all in a virtual environment where what they ask and how they answer becomes part of the algorithmic interplay and becomes part of the continuous machine learning that they are refining to ultimately look at an answer that they can say, this is what we are all agreeing on.
So, what is the benefit that an end user receives when you run such kind of a project or a process?
Say, for instance, you are thinking about a data scientist,
Mm-hmm.
then these people using this dashboard are all data scientists because of the ability to collectively expand the limited vocabulary that they're using, which are data headers and row headers in a flat data set. And they're expanding the data set in a way that they're all agreeing on, cleaning it, analyzing it, evaluating it, and going back in loops when they disagree. So it becomes a process of enabling lay people to truly become data scientists, where the algorithms that they ultimately build from it is the findings that they are saying, this is now the protocol or the standard that we recommend for a specific population group with a specific intervention, as an instance.
Okay. Vidya, any use case you want to share?
So there are a lot of them in banking industry which are running popular. My favorite ones are the propensity base and the automations which are run for the operational efficiency. So when it comes to the banking industry, a lot of us see only the banks, your accounts, which is happening in the front line. There are a lot of things which happen in the background. So we have a huge setup, for all the handling the operations, right from where you enter into a branch, you give an instruction to probably add another holder to the account or change your address or get a new debit card, anything. So all these things happen in the background. Making the processes robust and as much as automated is something which has been seen in the last decade. This has definitely helped a lot in the process efficiency and actually freeing up the time for people to actually engage in not so mundane activities, right? So the other propensity base that I talked about, so for example, every working professional goes through various life stages where his insurance and investment needs can be determined accurately with the data science that can benefit them hugely in the future. So if the bank is approaching them with the right kind of product tailor-made for their own requirements, then the customers or the clients will be more than willing. Basically, you have much more higher hit rate. So the data science machine learning algorithms can give them high accuracy to determine, what products will suit for each life stage of that particular individual. So banks can basically approach not all customers with all the products. Basically, they can channel their energy and the cost, everything, to the right clients with the right products at the right time. I think clients hugely appreciate that. So this is something which I have seen happening around me. So definitely an added advantage.
Okay, so while Lisa comes back as well, so tell us more about any other use case that you've seen, which is where you've been involved in the past as well, where you've seen a huge difference in the banking sector, where you've seen a huge impact to the organization.
So if you ask me, anything to do with client wow experience is something which every bank strives for. The wallet share is all, the banks are behind. So if I have a client who has multiple bank accounts with multiple organizations, then probably my wallet share as a bank is pretty much, limited. If I have to bring back those clients back to me to invest more in me, or buy more products from me, I obviously have to give them excellence. The client experience is something which we call it the think client. So basically, every organization, if they think client and their experience, that would be definitely a win-win situation for both the sides. So the projects that that work well to bring in the client experience is to understand the entire workflow that needs a lot of study with the data that we already have. So if you're moving a client from manual to digital, definitely you will need to find out where the block points are, where are your blockers, what are your barricades, what are your, how many hoops are you jumping. Then it makes them easier to identify and approach that particular area to automate it, or try and bring in the artificial intelligence, to the natural language processing, to basically understand even without human intervention, and it's faster and more efficient. So I've seen this, this works well with the banking industry, and they're really striving hard for doing this.
Okay, so now I want both of you to wear your data scientist hat and help answer this question, which we can't avoid. COVID-19, and can data science help? Is there a way to solve this, and or is it? Have you seen that helping somewhere, or have you heard about it? Please share that experience if you've got. So I would start with Lisa, because I think that's more, I think, close to her heart, coming from the healthcare industry.
I'm going to share with you my vision of what can be done right now with technologies that we have available, if we just use it differently. Now, I've got teenagers who play games long times at an end, multiple players, live playing with people from all over the world. They build things and destroy things together. They build consensus. They fight. They agree, etc. Now, imagine if we add in this kind of augmented reality environments global teams that are working across supply chains, and the end users are also part of this, and you are enabled as avatars or as yourself if you wish to be identified, but words that you utter are statistical. Sentences are. They all become machine learning algorithms that are communicated to each other, with each other, that shift data that you see and show each other as metadata strings of things that you are building and advising on and building consensus of best practice on. You destroying the boundaries between disparate data sets. You're breaking down the assumptions in statistical models where there are beliefs and biases and miscommunications and lack of complete data to make the data itself as reliable as possible. Ultimately, you're creating an internet platform which is scientific and useful, and you are doing so in a way where the lay people like us who do not have programming skills work with programmers as part of our team in real time, and we co-create and continuously improve not only the platform itself, but the data that we are applying in the world as trial and error for solving a problem, even at a very microcosm, tiny level, such as the genetic code and complex medical comorbidities and various demographic issues that a person might have, but you're able to build statistical significance in relative short time that is robust enough to be seen as a scientifically actionable fact, good enough for the time being. It's the only one available. So under the oath of Hippocrates, we have the ability to agree that we're going to try this because there's no other way. And you opt in, opt out with your informed decision making as an end user.
But how does that help in COVID situation?
In COVID situation, again, we've got various people across the world that have different data sets with slight time delays and lack of data, but they are disparate data silos. If you wish that data to become shared wisdom, it has to be a global effort of working together with a new model of agreeing the anonymity of the patients, the anonymity of specific things such as resource flow, which is not viable to share with the world, but at a generic level, be able to, as much as possible, create wisdoms which make the difference between preventable harm and preventable death.
Okay, Vidya, what do you think?
I have two points to share here. Like Lisa rightly mentioned, there's a lot of collaboration that is definitely required. And we have seen a lot of collaboration between our teams as well. But as for the banking industry, the important thing that had to be taken care of, or still doing it, is the risk part of it, because a lot of uncertainties are there in the market. There are a lot of clients, there are a lot of customers who are plunged into no work situation. There is a lack of hiring. There is a completely frozen up hiring, and there is very volatile situation as to we don't even know when this is going to get over, because we are all waiting for it. We are all waiting for the vaccines to come in, governments to step in and completely put the situation back to where we are. Definitely it's not going to be exactly the same situation as we were earlier. Having said that, the banking industry or the insurance industry can capitalize here to help more customers by understanding their situation. The moratorium definitely helped a lot of people. Again, the risk assessment of how your client is going to behave in the future based on the market situations, and a lot of our funds have dipped in, right, obviously. And when we don't have the certain situation around us, probably we will be starting to look at prescriptive modeling, because all these while we were predicting things and COVID was never predicted, as it was never in the cards at all for the banking industry, and suddenly it happened. And in the last 3-4 months, everybody has literally stopped everything. Only a few of us are who are fortunate enough to connect digitally and work with our teams continually are continuing to do so. There are a lot of people who have invested with us, who have bought products from us. They are still waiting for a lot of the uncertainties to clear. So the banks should basically assess the risk and act accordingly. And the prescriptive modeling is going to be post-COVID situation. Let's assume that it is tomorrow, and God forbid it doesn't continue after that. But what if similar situation is going to continue, or after 10 days there is something else which is going to come in? What have we learned from this COVID situation, and how we can be prepared for the upcoming situations as well? Earlier we used to think about the famines, we used to think about natural calamities. Considering this also as this pandemic also as a calamity which can disrupt everything, the risk has to be assessed, and what if situations should be more questions should be answered through data science. I think it's definitely possible to bring in more prescriptive modeling, as in, if this situation happens, how am I going to react? Or if this risk situation is going to happen, how am I going to react?
So
I
you
think that's in the upsurge.
they should add another risk type for
Yeah.
pandemic as well into the system.
Absolutely.
Fair point of view. I think they should do that. Okay, very quickly. I think we've lost Aparna for good, but anyways, we'll start with the question and answers. We've got few questions to run through very quickly, and I will go through questions from Facebook and YouTube. There are a few, so let's start. The first comment is from Kamesh Kant. Hi, Kamesh, and he's saying good morning. Good morning, Kamesh. Next, Somak Mukherjee. Hi, Somak, how are you? Said, is it true in the upcoming days data science will lose its charm? If no, then where is it leading to? Who wants to answer that question?
I can
I
take
can
that.
answer it. I
But
can
I'll let
tell you
Lisa to
that
go first.
data science is going to be something that is going to be taught at school level. It's going to be something that is going to be part of everyone's daily thinking and doing, because our computerized world is only increasing. Our signal data, our interaction with our signal data, the decision support that we're going to get from interacting more with the data and making it wisdom is only going to increase. So data science, no end.
Good stuff. You want to add Vidya to this?
Definitely. Okay, so I'm sure all of us use our phones, and we never lost the charm of the phones, right? We continually, try to innovate and made it better. And now we are in a position where it used to be buttons, now it is the smartphone and whatnot. You have your phones on your watches, so it's just continuing to grow. And data science is something similar to that. It's a technology. You can call it an innovation, you can call it anything, but it is here to stay. It has wider fields, and it's like an ocean, and there are many innovations, and there are a lot of additions to it, rather than it going away. It's definitely here to stay.
Good stuff. Okay, next is from Mrinmoy Paul. Hi, Mrinmoy, how are you? He's saying hello, everyone. Next message is from Vijayanti Mala. Hi, Vijayanti, how are you? Good diverse panel, thanks. Yes, it is. Thank you very much. Then comes the next question from Vijayanti, and she says, does any of the ladies on the panel have the message for the rest of the women workforce on how to stay at it and deepen the body of knowledge and also increase the women ratio in data science? So this is a mandatory question from Vijayanti. I would ask both of you to actually answer on that question. So I'll start with you first.
I am a living example for this. I don't stop learning. That's one of my charm to myself. That's why I get up in the morning with the feeling that I'm going to learn something new. And only through learning you can sustain in any place. Whether it is your personal life or your professional life, you have to keep learning. And to deepen the knowledge, you have to have the right association, the network of people that you work with, or the network of people that you associate yourself on various LinkedIn platforms, various social platforms, whether it is LinkedIn or Facebook or any other platform that you are used to. You have to just build your network and share your views. And sometimes when you are stuck with a problem, there is a lot of people who have been in this situation and come out of it with a better solution. So it is always important to continue learning. And the list of certifications that I've done in the past have been, I can write pages on them, and I continue to do that. And then, in my growth plan also, I have listed at least 10 of them to be completed before this year ends. So it's simply that, it's like breathing. You have to continue to do it. If you don't do it for even 1 or 2 minutes together, you're not there.
Lisa, what's your point of view?
I believe that we are put on this earth to find your purpose, your life purpose. And if you find it in your personal life purpose to help the world or help business or help anybody to achieve something better through data, then it might very well be that you might be a good data scientist. On top of that, feel it out for yourself. There are so many different emerging fields in data science. Try it out, learn critically, think critically, put your hand up, ask questions, involve yourself in networks, and get some practical experience wherever you can, and continue to subscribe to free courses whenever you feel as though you're helpless at home, kids, etc., etc. It's all there at the fingertips. Continue to learn and align it with what you believe you want to achieve at a spiritual level.
Good stuff. I'll give a point of view on that. I think when we started a career a long time ago in this space, everything was very expensive. Software was, a SaaS pod was $250,000. You and me couldn't afford it. The data wasn't there because nothing was digitized. So you had to actually ask organizations to get that data. Today, everything is absolutely free. R is free. You can get an AWS pod for, I think, $25 a month or something. Data is everywhere. You go on websites, there is online data available. You can download finance data. All the share market data is free on Yahoo Finance. So to learn and stay at it, as you asked Vijanti, I think the best thing is just pick up a problem, pick up the data set, and start solving those problems. And once you start solving those problems, you will learn more and you will get more ideas, and you'll be there on there. And you don't have to look at anyone else. You will create products, you will create solutions which are already there, which are there for to be consumed, and suddenly you'll become an entrepreneur instead of looking for a job. So things are very different in today's day and age, and can change significantly differently for a data scientist if you've got the passion. That is, it will require a bit of hard work. You'll have to work a few extra hours, few means a few extra months, whatever, but you will get somewhere. And that is the truth of today's life in data science. I'm not sure about, because in our days, we had to first buy the software, which we couldn't afford. So we had to get into that organization, which could actually give us the access to the software and so forth. You don't have that problem today. So it's a very different world. Okay, enough of my gyan. Let's get to the next question, which is, what is there, and from Vijanti Mala, she says, what is there to take on how to make an impact on the society at large through data science? Again, an important and critical question. So let's go with Lisa this time.
I think that One of the wonderful things that we have now is existing technologies that we're using frivolously. I can't believe that we are seeing how much people spend time spent on wonderful applications that can create wisdom for us all. And we're doing so to share what we eat or how sad we feel that day. But we're not actually at that paradigm shift at the moment where we're willing to take the leap of faith, combine our available technologies and use them in a way that is making sense in a model of the world where we can all problem solve together in trial and error cycles, and where we can collect and build and continuously improve our shared wisdoms in a way that help our children to have hope, help us to have work, and help robots not to replace us.
What do you think, Vidya?
I think the biggest impact that can happen in society is to bring data science very early in the school life or the education platform, because that gives a mindset. Because a lot of the difficulties that we face is to convince people that data science is actually going to help them. But if it is inculcated in a very early age, and create more robust education system, having slowly introducing the data science concepts, the data science, how to keep themselves up to date, and all these things can be taught at very early age. It can have a huge impact in the society as a whole.
Okay, let me just check one more thing before I come to the next question, which is from, wait a minute. Sorry. From Vidya, from Vijantimala, and she says, how do you grow this tribe of women in data science and also get plugged into the women in technology at large, which is an ever-growing active community by itself?
So how do you grow the tribe? It's by supporting each other. There are a lot of organizations or the groups which support women in data science, and if you are at a level where you can support the other women to grow up in that place, then obviously you should do that. That is one way of bringing in more, not exactly clones, but definitely you can bring in more like-minded people to this area of work. I think that is important to bring the excitement, show your growth, lead by example. I think these are the things that you can do on a day-to-day basis to bring more people get excited and come in. So the number of posts that you make of your achievements, one, it definitely boosts your motivation, but again, you are setting a very good example for other people to follow. So I think support each other. That's the biggest advantage of being here and being for them.
Perfect. Vijantimala says, very good point that Aparna is raising about the increase in the number of data scientists. How do you continuously learn to stay as a class apart? And I think I gave you a classic 2 minutes on that and how to get that access to the data and learn as you go. And I think that is where that will help you in being a class apart if you want to practice as much as you can. Because that is where what will make a huge difference. Anyone wants to add anything more to that?
I'd like to give a tip there, something that I've been doing. You stay in touch with emerging technology in industry, which involves data management, and see what people are wishing for and what they are innovating on. And to make sure you keep on top of the learning in the background with that. What is the skill sets, the knowledge that you need to have in order to not only understand what they're trying to do, but in order to answer their problems?
Okay. There is a question for I think, Aparna, but let's get to both of you, is from Saurabh Sharma. Hi, Saurabh, how are you? Says, what do a company expect from a fresh data scientist who just came out of college with computer science engineering backgrounds? How they gonna judge me? Okay, Vidya, you want to answer that?
Sure. So I think I put this in the pyramid, three-tiered pyramid earlier. So when we look for a junior most role, probably we'll hire a fresher. Hiring a fresher, we know that you are a fresher. So the minimum quality, the working knowledge may not be part of that. But that does not say that you shouldn't be part of a project or an internship with a startup, or an internship where you were part of a bigger project, contributing in some way or the other. These are the added qualities apart from the qualifications that you have gained. So there is a lot of Kaggle competitions which people like to attempt to test their knowledge as to how they have, what knowledge they have acquired and how they can perform in the real life scenarios. And also there are some live projects, smaller ones, where you are part of it when a data scientist whose experience is working on it, to learn from them. So how much you learn from them and how you have performed, how you can project that into an interview, is something which is absolutely in your hands. So nobody is going to judge you that you don't have work experience, don't come to me. Having said that, if the job requires a working experience or a domain knowledge, then it is what it is. I cannot just pick up somebody, or for instance, I cannot pick up somebody to and start teaching them from the basics. I don't want to do it. A lot of organizations don't have that patience. So if you are approaching a particular domain, you are expected to have a little bit of knowledge, definitely a lot of market knowledge that is freely available in the Google. So you, even if you research for the company domain, you still have something to say which is related to the job. So that, I think that is what is expected, rather than you're definitely being in some bigger project or not. If you have led a bigger project or not, that is not the expectation.
Lisa, you want to add to that?
No.
Okay, but I will add to that. And I think when we're looking for a fresher, I don't think the expectation is that you've got an experience or you know what you know, but you should be able to do what you've learned and translate it into a particular outcome at the time of the interview. We'll not judge you for not having an experience, but we'll judge you for what you know and what you don't know, because that is very, very important. At the end of the day, it's a corporate environment, and we want you to perform a job. And if you're not, if you don't know anything about it, then it's hard for anyone to hire you. But that is a given. An important aspect of that is that over the years you will learn and you will grow in that space. But having said that, here is an opportunity, as I mentioned earlier, for you to pick up and learn as you go at home, and having all that information available to you. So you've got that experience of doing something when you go for an interview, instead of just rocking up for an interview saying, I've come from this college and, hire me. And there are lots of organizations who hire interns. So that's another opportunity to actually get in, so that you can do some hands-on work and gain the experience that you don't have. So I think that there are a few things that you can do in order to get to that space. Okay. Next, Vijayanti Mala says, I don't know if you're able to see my questions. We did. I've typed away anyway. Thank you very much. And thank you for putting together, Shailendra. I really appreciate it. Vijayanti, hope we took all of your questions. Hopefully you got all the answers you were looking for. Next is from Kavita Surya Narayanan, and she says, I'm studying data analytics and science. However, I feel there is a gap between a person who is certified through learning and who has an experience in the field. How can this gap be filled in freshers who do not have experience in the field but do have the knowledge through learning? Who wants to go? I've actually given a lot of information on that, and I think that is an answer. You can learn today. That gap can be filled quite quickly if you're passionate about what you want to do, and focus on getting some outcomes done with the data and the availability of software, just start solving problems, I think. What do you think, Vidya?
I think I totally agree with that, because just because you have started from somewhere doesn't stop you from actually attempting to do some, to bring out some outcomes, right? Like you rightly said. So if you are able to articulate that in your resume or your interview with the person, then I think you are home.
Good stuff. Lisa?
Don't always be so stuck on a job description. Look at what it really offers you. If you have to add experience in a business place or in an industry field, and there's an opportunity for you in there to do your data analytics and science as well, grab that opportunity. Don't be scared.
Perfect. Okay. There is a comment from Saurabh Sharma. He says it was very helpful. Does a really good Kaggle profile matters? Vidya, you mentioned that, so here's a question to you.
Kaggle matters. It
Matters?
has variety of data sets and very many fields, and it's very diversified, and it also points you in the right direction. So the more you practice, the more you're hands-on, and that counts as experience. That doesn't count the only experience that you read, but for a fresher, it's definitely a good start.
Good stuff. Okay. Next question is from Sadashiv Ranade. Hi, Sadashiv, how are you? And he says, nice topic. Women being now leaders in all levels, both in private and government. Data science is no exception, but I would like to know is the government sector taking the data science at any level?
Yes. In Australia, there's a huge gap of available data scientists that they're trying to employ for using the data that they've got available in a smart way. I think things have stood still over the pandemic era, but I've also seen in the UK and America that the same trend is there. Government, just like military, for instance, government in general is getting very interested in smart cities, in smart use of healthcare data, and integrating data scientists at the ground level everywhere.
Vidya, what do you see?
I have seen that, a very nice example which I am reminded of is the government of Andhra Pradesh in India. They have, I've seen this big dashboard that the CM has in his office, which shows each and every risk area, right from the roads, water, electricity, everything on a single dashboard. I think they were one of the pioneers in India to use data for the government's purpose. The dashboards actually showed them the forecasting also, including the rains and the farmer situation and the agricultural situation. So I think that's a very good example that I'm quite reminded of. And if this is applied across India, speaking of where I'm from, I think it is definitely going to help, and it has helped in the past. I'm sure it is going to help in the future as well.
And I can take that comment a bit further, stating that I have seen, and with all the people I meet, each and every person who's got a data science background wants to help the governments, whether in Australia, whether in India, to utilize data to their advantage. And I think that's a great, huge potential out there. And I would state, if anyone who's watching this and wants data scientists to, from the government point of view, wants data scientists to help them, please feel free to reach out to me, because I have got connections and links to those people who really want to help the governments across everywhere. So I think that's a huge opportunity out there. I think there are a couple of questions and we'll just finish it off. Ratan Kumar, hi Ratan, how are you? He says, agree, great innovations have happened in the past 3 months in medical and testing devices driven by the COVID pandemic. Absolutely need-based for people, tech for mankind, as I would want to call it. That's a comment. Yes, totally agree with you, Ratan. I think there has been a lot of innovation that has happened in past 3 months in medical and testing devices and even robotics, I think, because there are lots of places where they're using robots instead of humans to actually interact with the patients of COVID-19. So a lot of things have changed and in the last 3 months. And finally, this question from Saurabh Sharma. Hi, Saurabh. When he's saying, I would love to join the bank as my starting organization, and I'm also currently an intern at Imarticus, Gurgaon. People from the institute have previously been placed in Standard Chartered Bank. So, ma'am, can you please give me a few tips and tricks before sitting in a bank job interview? By the way, financial analytics seems fascinating to me. I'll leave it to you, Vidya, whether you want to answer that question or not, and how you want to take it.
Oh, I'm definitely not a spokesperson for any bank. I'm an individual who has experience in this area. Having said that, whoever is interested in a particular organization should visit their website and their career portal to look for opportunities, and that would be a great start to know what you want to do and where you want to stand in the future.
Perfect. Now, before I finish off, I would like both of you to make a summary statement, anything you want to leave for the audience that they should take away as a result. So I will start with Lisa.
I've come on board today to actually introduce myself to you with a very new field of semantic AI for artificial general intelligence, where it becomes safe and ethical, and we can bring lay people on board, and we can embrace augmented reality and have mobile technologies, etc., all included. So I invite people who wish to have better healthcare outcomes, better use of smart data, to collaborate with me who are in this space.
Perfect. Vidya?
So we are talking about women in data science, and definitely there is a lot of requirement which is upcoming at various stands of the field. Data science is not a single thing. It has multiple facets. It is used in multiple levels of the organization and multiple products of the organization. So all you have to do is find what is most exciting for you to begin with. If you are a newcomer, if you are already an existing data science professional, definitely keep learning, keep updating yourself, and network more. I think network takes you to a great many places than what you can do individually. And if you have knowledge, please share it. That is even more important, because people like you have started from zero to some place. People who are starting at zero will definitely need your help, a helping hand. So please be there for others as well.
Perfect. Thank you, both of you. It was a pleasure having you on board and spending more than 1.5 hours. It's like 1 hour, 45 minutes, almost. It was very enjoying conversation. And unfortunately, we lost Aparna in the middle because of some network issues. Technology sometimes doesn't work. But thank you, both of you, for joining us. And Aparna, if you're watching us later, thank you very much for being on the show. And to the audience, thank you very much. So, guys.
Thank you very much, Shailendra, Vidya, and to our audience.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
So, guys, those were the three young ladies from the data science industry. Hopefully, you enjoyed the conversation. And if you have any questions, please let us know. Apart from that, if you know any lady, any leading data scientist, anyone who's a data scientist or a leader in data science, you want them to be on the show, please mention their name in the comment section, and I will definitely reach out to them and get them on the show. This is a place for the women in data science, and I want to reach out to as many women as possible. And to the panelists today, I would request you to nominate 3 more people, 3 more women in data science, so that I can reach out to them and they can and they can come here and share their experiences. As women will help women, and we will grow this whole panel as big as possible. So thank you very much. Thank you, the audience, for watching us. And it was a pleasure watching you, and talking to you guys, and for the audience to watch us all having a conversation. Thank you and bye now.